Hi, I'm horror author Paul Edwards. Tonight I'm reading Spacemen magazine, issue number 5 from 1962. I thought some of you might enjoy flipping through this vintage magazine with me. Let's see what kinds of science fiction goodness is in here. Spacemen magazine, issue number 5 from 1962. 35 cents cover price. And in this issue, we're going to get Radar Men from the Moon and Flying Disc Men from Mars. These are both movie serials, science fiction movie serials. We're going to learn about the first Buck Rogers on film, which is also a movie serial. And this is a super issue on yesterday's Spacemen. Pretty retro. Like they used to say on Mystery Science Theater, it's the old future. All right, let's dive right in. Whoa. Space fans of the world unite. All right, now, in case you couldn't guess, this is a Forrest J. Ackerman production. And you can always tell by the terrible puns like spatial delivery. All right, so in this issue, we're going to get, of course, we saw spatial delivery. It's Written in the Stars. That's upcoming space movies. Radar Men from the Moon. The Obituary Department. You got to read that twice. Space Men of Distinction. Super Space Collectors Pinup. Spatial Coverage. Buck Rogers, of course. Oh, look, a little plug for his other magazine, Famous Monsters of Filmland. Comet. Screen Thrills Illustrated. Flying Disc Man from Mars. All right. Oh. This one I remember very clearly. 12 to the Moon. Yep. It's Written in the Stars. In the space, of the next few months, you will be thrilling to new special effects films forecast here. Well, The Man from Planet X came out in 1951, so this magazine was 1962, so this is not a forecast. This is something that's already happened. This is from a West German production, Mission Interplan. Spaceship Venus does not reply. Now here's a movie I'm very familiar with, The Angry Red Planet. It was filmed in 1959 and released in 1960 with Joe Moore as the captain and the great Les Tremayne as the scientist, Professor Cortell. Oh. Okay. Nice. This is from Abbott and Costello, Go to Mars. Oh my gosh. Queen of Outer Space. Queen of Outer Space is one of two movies that was sort of a precursor to the 1979 movie Alien. That is, it was a movie about an alien creature that was aboard a spaceship and was picking off crew members one by one. The basic premise of the movie Alien. The other movie that was a lot like the premise of Alien was It, The Terror from Beyond Space, which is probably a better film, but Queen of Outer Space, also released as Queen of Blood, is not bad. Radar Men from the Moon. Yep. So Republic was probably the best overall of the three companies that released movie serials in the golden age of movie serials from 1936 to 1955. Radar Men from the Moon was one of their more memorable ones. I always loved in these serials, you can see this a lot in Flash Gordon, how the rocket ship is going along, and when it's time to land, they just crash down onto the ground, and that's considered a good landing. You know, there's no slow descent or anything. Uh-oh. Yeah, you know, the character Commando Cody, who was a good guy in these serials, that name was the inspiration for the character of Commander Cody in the Star Wars prequel movies. Oh, this is from Destination Moon. You know, we have an idea in our minds that science fiction space movies of the 40s, 50s, and 60s were always going to Mars. But the truth of the matter is, the majority of them went to the moon. There were some that went to Mars for sure, but the moon was the primary destination for mid-20th century astronauts in the movies. The thing in these serials was, even when there was a far-out science fiction premise, like, you know, people on the planet Venus or something were attacking the Earth, they would find a way to turn the story so that earthbound gangsters were doing most of the heavy lifting for the bad guys, so they could, you know, fill up the serial chapters with ordinary car chases, gunfights, and so forth. All right, this is one you got to read twice. Obituary Department. Yeah. Oh, Devil Girl from Mars. Excuse me, that's Devil Woman from Mars. Very sexist. Call her Devil Girl. Oh, The Great Boris Karloff. This is not really a space movie, though. This is The Devil Commands. This is a lesser-known Karloff movie where he plays a well-meaning but misguided scientist who's trying to find a scientific means of communicating with the minds of the dead. Oh, gosh. Oh, Space Cadet. Yep. Okay. Village of the Damned. I guess it has to do with space. The kids are from space, but none of the movie takes place in space. Here's Commando Cody again. Oh. Okay, pop quiz. Do you know who the actor is? The very tall actor who played this alien in an episode of The Twilight Zone? I'll give you a hint. The episode was To Serve Man. Remember? No, that's Richard Kiel. Richard Kiel, probably best remembered as playing the hitman Jaws in 2 of the James Bond movies. That's Richard Kiel. This Island Earth. This Island Earth is not bad. But every time I'm reminded of This Island Earth, the first thing I think of is the way that they pronounce the word mutant as mutant. It's the mutant. Wow. Okay, spatial coverage. Oh, and there is the mutant, the Metaluna mutant from This Island Earth. Yikes. "20 Million Miles to Earth" was a Ray Harryhausen movie about an astronaut. A space monster that hitches a ride with returning astronauts from Venus. When they return from Venus, they have that creature in small form on board, and it very quickly expands in our atmosphere. Wow. Oh. The book on which the movie The Thing from Another World was based. Okay. Which was a ripoff of which? Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon? The answer is sort of both. Buck Rogers came first in the comic strips in the newspapers. Buck Rogers came first. But Flash Gordon was the first to appear in the movie serials. Flash Gordon beat Buck Rogers to the silver screen. Then again, it may not matter who was first because the same guy played them both, Buster Crabbe. There were 3 Flash Gordon movie serials, and there was 1 Buck Rogers movie serial, and Buster Crabbe played the hero in all 4 of them. Oh, here's an interview with Buster Crabbe on his thoughts on Buck Rogers. Buster demonstrates the 25th century slam as he downs one of Killer Kane's men. Gosh. Okay, you knew that Ford was going to start plugging his main magazine here. If you like Spacemen, you'll love Famous Monsters. Another science fiction movie serial, Flying Discman from Mars. The Red Planet plots war on our world as Earth alerts itself to defend civilization from the invasion of the aliens. apparently we're going to fight the aliens in a biplane. You can send away and get your reel of film from one of your favorite space or monster movies. I'm surprised they aren't offering more space ones, though, considering this magazine. They do have It Came From Outer Space, but wouldn't you think most of these would be space ones? There's a couple there. Oh, wow, a perpetual motion solar engine. Wow, how can you say no to that? Mysterious outer space farm. You know, in the 1950s version of The Thing from Another World, when they're growing the specimens out of the blood drops from the space alien, and they're growing to be little plants. That's what that makes me think of. A total of 8 exotic plants, all for $1. Wow. Oh, and you can get magic moon rocks. I remember those. They were crystals. You would add water and the crystals would grow. You can get a record album of space stories and space sounds. You can get a science fiction sound effects record. So when you're playing with your action figures, you have some spacey noises to go with it. Pretty good. Pretty good. A real miniature pistol. Wow. Of course, we got the standard horror albums. Ooh. See, now, if Dr. Frankenstein had this as a guide, he could have built his monster much quicker. Okay, well, the problem with the flying vampire is, are you flying your kite at night? Because if you're flying your kite by day, isn't the sunshine going to just turn your flying vampire to dust? I didn't think that through, did they? I wonder what these Zachary books were. I know who Zachary was. He was probably the most famous of the horror hosts of the late 50s and 60s. But what his books are, I don't know. Zachary's Vulture Stew, Zachary's Midnight Snacks, I have no idea. You too will be carried away by music for robots. Wow. Okay. Do you know which robot this is? This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I happen to recognize it, but a lot of these 40s and 50s robots look very similar. But that is Tobor, Tobor the Great. Tobor his name was Robot spelled backward. I don't think they should sell kids a 22-foot parachute. Okay, this is the best ad, well, the best set of ads in the whole thing. You can get a genuine, official U.S. government surplus astronaut helmet and a genuine, official U.S. government surplus astronaut spacesuit. Originally $180. Wow. Huh. And now they're for sale for $7.95. And the helmet is actually more at $14.95. And what a way to end the issue. The race for spacemen is on. Kids at the time would have got this because America was in the race for space against the Soviet Union. So the race for spacemen, sort of play on words, is on. The world's only space picture magazine. Wow. All right. That was really interesting. I'm going to have to look around to see if I can dig up more issues of Spacemen. It's interesting to see what people in the past thought that the 21st century would be like. Listen, if you enjoy classic monsters and vintage horror, you would love my book series, the Mourner's Woods books. I've written a series of novels that all take place in a haunted forest. I'm self-published on Amazon. There's a link to my books in the description on this video. My name again is Paul Edwards. My books are the Mourner's Woods books. Thanks for spending some time looking through Spacemen magazine issue number 5 with me. I'll see you in Mourner's Woods.